You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Sunday the 19th of July, 2026. It is 28 days after the summer solstice. It is 65 days before the autumnal equinox. In today's episode, kelp, Blackwell's Island, Seneca Falls, a circumnavigation by amphibious jeep, air conditioning in the subway, and more. Today's forecast, sunny, high near 84 degrees Fahrenheit, 28.9 Celsius, northwest wind around 11 miles per hour. The sun rises today at 5:41 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:02 p.m. The sun sets today at 8:23 p.m. Civil twilight ends at 8:55 p.m. and nautical twilight ends at 9:35 p.m. The length of daytime today is 1 minute 32 seconds shorter than yesterday. The moon is in its waxing crescent phase and is 33% full at midday. The moon rises today at 9:33 a.m., and then it sets after midnight. These are the predicted tides today for Horns Hook. In the wee hours, high tide, 2:37 a.m., 1 meter 52. In the morning, low tide, 8:42 a.m., 6 centimeters. In the afternoon, high tide, 3:10 p.m., 1 meter 62. At night, low tide, 9:18 p.m., 21 centimeters. In our shared realm of plants and animals, since seaweed is on our mind, we looked into some interesting ventures in kelp farming around the estuary. There are projects in Newtown Creek, near the Gowanus Canal, and in the East River near Throgs Neck. All of these initiatives are looking into whether kelp farming can improve the water quality of these heavily polluted sites. The kelp being grown by researchers from Stony Brook and the Newtown Creek Alliance is known as sugar kelp and needs very little to thrive. But the kelp draws toxins from the water column and absorbs the excess nitrogen and phosphorus from sewer runoff that can cause harmful algal blooms. Like the Million Oyster Project, these initiatives use native flora and fauna to filter and clean our waters. And though oysters and kelp are both edible, these most certainly are not. Commemorations. On this day in 1828, the city of New York purchased what is today Roosevelt Island from the Blackwell family for $32,000. For the next century and a half, it was a place of isolation and often despair. The first penitentiary opened in 1830. The lunatic asylum opened in 1839. Its octagon tower still stands and can be seen from Hallett's Cove. The lunatic dock once stood on the East River just east of the octagon. In 1870, the lighthouse at its northern tip was built by prisoners. In 1973, once most of the penal facilities had closed, it was renamed Roosevelt Island and redeveloped as the residential neighborhood we know today. On this day in 1848, the first Women's Rights Convention convened in Seneca Falls, New York. Over 2 days, the 300 delegates hammered out the Seneca Falls Declaration of Sentiments, calling for equal rights for women in all spheres: voting, economics, jobs, education, and religion. Not only did it create an organized voice for women's rights, but it laid out clear arguments that have inspired the fight for equality ever since. On this day in 1941, the cartoon characters Tom and Jerry made their debut in the cartoon The Midnight Snack. Mad Adventures. On this day in 1950, Ben Carlin and his wife Eleanor departed Halifax on the first leg of a circumnavigation of the Earth by amphibious vehicle. They had made several attempts 2 years before, without success. Their vehicle was a Ford amphibious jeep. They added a pointed prow and a cabin, as well as extra petrol tanks, and gave it the name Half Safe. It took them 32 days to cross the Atlantic, arriving in the Azores. They eventually made land in Morocco, then drove to Europe. The journey was not uninterrupted. They paused in England to raise funds and rest. By 1954, they had driven as far as Calcutta. Another pause ensued, and by 1956, Eleanor was done. Carlin continued, however, traversing the Bay of Bengal and then driving across Southeast Asia. across the China Sea to Hong Kong, then up to Japan. The final sea leg brought him to Alaska. He drove across North America, arriving back in Montreal by May 1958. In 8 years, the half-safe had traveled 17,000 kilometers by sea and 63,000 kilometers by land, passing through 38 countries. It is the only circumnavigation by amphibious vehicle ever attempted. On this day in 1965, the first air-conditioned subway car in New York City was introduced on the F line. Impressed, Mayor Lindsay authorized buying 600 new air-conditioned cars. The World Cup final match is today. Spain faces Argentina right here at New York, New Jersey Stadium. And that is the Observatory, Sunday the 19th of July, 2026.